Hello and welcome to computer class. My name is Dave and today we're talking about block and inline elements. So navigate to w3schools.com and click on their HTML tutorial and then click on the block and inline tab. There is a lot to cover in the block and inline section. But the main difference to remember here between a block element and an inline element is that a block element it's on its own line and it creates a container. An inline element is in line, it's kind of in amongst the code, and that's the major difference. And there are tons of these types of containers and tons of these types of inline elements. One such specific one that is incredibly important to building websites, they start out by saying, and they highlight it at the top here, is the div tag. And the div tag is a division element that basically creates, I'll hit the try it myself here, it creates a block. And usually you'll see it around, like, honestly, they probably should have done it like this and put it all the way around this paragraph right there. They created a block, so to speak, or a division of the code, and then they can style that division of the code. That's basically what that is used for. So let's actually put the div tag in, div, and we'll call it the division division tag, right? That's about it. That's all it does. Creates a division of the code. Creates a section, if you will, of the code. Now there's a section element, and that is different, okay? But I want to explain that first. So all of these block elements right here, whether it be an address tag, which you need one of those in every single website, or whether it be a section tag, or whether it be a table tag, all of those create containers for specific sections of HTML. And a lot of these are used just to deal with the flow of your code and to help tree things inward to create different containers for the page as you build it. So for instance, if you have a body tag, which every website has a head and a body section, more than likely you would put something like a main tag into it. And above that, you might put a header, or maybe you have a nav section, or maybe you have a footer. All of those are tags that would flow into or be containers into the body tag. Or maybe you would have inside of your nav section, you would have a unordered list with a list item inside of it. Again, you would kind of make containers inside of containers inside of containers because that's basically how HTML is laid out. And divisions with inside the main section, there's tons of that happens. So to give you an illustration of this, what I did was, because there's so many of these here and it's so difficult to really talk about all of them, it would take a while. What I did was I navigated over to this site called template.co, and people are posting their website code to download for free that you can manipulate. And I clicked on the download button for this one called, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but Halo? I don't know. But anyway, thank you to who wrote this. And what I did was I downloaded it. It comes in a zip file, and then I right-clicked and I extracted all of it to my desktop, double-clicked and opened the folder, and then I right-clicked and opened the file with brackets, okay? And then here is brackets right here. So I can kind of show you someone's web code and how they have laid something out rather than taking forever and writing one in front of you. Notice they have released this template under Creative Commons License 3.0. Again, thank you to the person who wrote this. All right, so here we have the head section like we usually have in every single HTML tag and the body section. Okay, and inside the body, he's used comments to comment out and tell us that here is the header to the web page. And by the way, in case you're wondering what this web page looks like before I go into explaining all that, this is what the website actually looks like. Okay, if I scroll down, it's got all these different sections. Okay, so it's not a huge website, but it is what it looks like. Okay. Anyway, back to the code. So again, it has a header section, which is different than the head section. The head section is the unseen portion of the document and contains meta information. The body section is the seen portion of the document. You can then further break up the body section with the header. In the header, you put things like the logo and some references there. And then you have your nav section right below that. He does a section, And in that, he has articles which have divisions in them that can each be styled based on what is needed, and headers inside of those. Another article, another article. You kind of stack these block elements, as you can see, and then the end to that section. And then he has number one. Well, what's number one? Obviously, if we go to the first page here, I'm assuming it's one of these sections. Maybe it's this one, section one. Maybe this first section here was probably the showcase. Oh, it is the banner. It's the showcase, the opening part to this website, which is right here. This part that keeps rotating back and forth between the different pictures. Okay, so that's why he has all these articles. These images are the articles that keep flipping back and forth. And that was a wild motion. Take no notice. And then he has section one here. And if you see all the divisions he has treed inward, so that you can style each layer of content and use the different pieces of HTML. But this is decent code right here as you see it laid out. Sections and divisions. If I get all the way down to the bottom here, notice he uses the footer tag, and then he has some scripts at the bottom. Now he doesn't utilize the main tag, and some people don't. It's not a must that you have to use all these different containers that are in our block elements here. It's not a must again, but it is useful to do that. It's very these are incredibly helpful containers that are available to you if you're doing HTML. I want to highlight a couple of these to add them into our HTML tag because they're pretty important. And the first is address. You need an address tag in your HTML. Since this is a basic course, address container. You're probably going to need a nav section. So nav. This is for your website navigation. There we go. All right, and you're probably going to need the header and footer sections. So let's add those in. And then footer. There we go. All right. So you probably need the those types of things. Section is also a helpful tag. And I could add a lot of these in, I'm sure. A video if you're going to insert a video. Main tag if you're doing the main section. So look over these, right click on each one of these and open them in a new tab and take a look at what they do because they're incredibly important. Not going to take the time to go over all of the block elements that exist. There is tons of them. But knowing how to specifically lay out your blocks will create better HTML code and well-written, well-organized code. And that's the purpose of those. Scrolling down to the inline elements, an inline element does not start on a new line. That's what they say here. And a great example of that is the span element. I'm actually going to add that too. And basically, what they see here is the span element, it spans over top of something. So this span element right here is taking a style of a 1-pixel border and spanning it over top of the words hello world. Okay, so the span element, and you will see this used quite a bit in HTML. Spans over something. I mean, there's not really other description of it other than that. And there are lots of these such elements that span over things. For instance, the anchor tag, as we've already discussed, will make a certain part of text clickable when you put it on either side. Things like the strong tag will make anything in between bolded and read by a screen reader with emphasis. Things like the image tag will make an image appear. Things like the button tag, which is a really important one. I'll open that one up real fast so you can take a look at it. It will actually make something clickable. So it creates something like this in your HTML tag, and a lot of other really helpful inline elements. Again, they're written sort of like this, to where it's inside the paragraph, it's almost nested inside and in a line with your code. It's not the actual container, it's not the div tag around it, it's not the section tag, it's not the footer, it's not the body, it's in line with things, and that's what differentiates it from everything else. Okay, so the span element and the div element, very helpful to use in your code if you want to span over something or if you want to divide something up. And again, I can't stress this enough. If you want to know how to write good code and how to lay out these blocks, the best way to do it is to go find someone who actually writes code and to grab their code, download it off the internet, and then see the different block elements as they are laid out and go, oh, wow, they put the header up there. That's where you put that. Oh, wow, that's where they did the nav section. Oh, and then they nested the li inside of it, and then the list item, and then the anchor tag as an inline element. Wow, that's how they did that. Or they did the section for the banner, and then articles inside of that. Wow, that's how you lay out a carousel at the top of a website. That's incredible. So on and on and on and on it goes. Make sure you are very attentive to these blocks. They're incredibly important. Hopefully you learned something today about inline and block elements. Hopefully you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I will see you in the next video.